Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar of the PI Task Force. The PI Task Force is an industry task force supporting the CPMI on cross-border work. And as you know, the cross-border work of the CPMI was initiated in particular in 2020 by the G20, which made that a priority area. And the CPMI has published a number of reports and has then set up also an industry task force around 2 years ago, because obviously the industry is key to improving cross-border payments, is ultimately the one who delivers on cross-border payments. So the idea of this webinar is to give insights into the current work of this PI Task Force. And the PI Task Force has identified a number of key topics where the industry believes a priority should be put on, where the industry wants to articulate its views and contribute really to improve cross-border payments. So we have 3 task teams with the chairs of those task teams within the PI Task Force to present where they currently stand on their work. There will be publications coming up on those various work streams. So the work will continue, and I hope we will have further such webinars in the future to update you. But I would then give the floor to one of the task teams, which is co-chaired by 2 colleagues, and this is on the interlinking of fast payment systems and in general the use of fast payment systems for cross-border payments.
Okay, thank you, Ulrich. We have the privilege of trying to make this interoperability of faster payment happen for cross-border. We are studying this issue, and to make this study, we start with data, and we collect data from around 50 faster payments around the world. We have a good representation of these systems, and we gather information which is important for this interoperability of faster payment system. So with this data, we have analyzed, and we have to see what is missing, what are the gaps to make these systems, which are normally aimed for local needs, to cater cross-border payments. So with this information, we have defined some recommendations, which are the core of our work, and we have reached to 10 recommendations, very bold, very brave, and I go straight to them because some of them are quite a change. The first recommendation, and it is is probably the most important, is that all faster payment systems should be open to the processing of cross-border payments. There should be no other adherent process for PSPs or for banks and in these local systems, and all participants in the local systems should be able to send and receive cross-border payment systems. So it is clearly a gap between the local payment systems or the faster payment systems and the needs to process cross-border payment system, but this could be solved with the adoption of international schemes and standards like BUNA standards, EPC for OCTNs, Nexus, SWIFT with IP+. So this gap could be solved using this standard. So the idea is not to create another system for cross-border payments, because our view is that if this is the case, the process will be very slow and this will not fly. So that's the first recommendation. Second is not to forget very important actors in the field of cross-border payments. That is the case of wallet operators, that is the working remittances companies, the fintechs, or the card processors. All should be participants or should be welcome as participants in the faster payment systems, which is not the case in many jurisdictions and many faster payment systems. Another recommendation, the third one, goes to the central bank. These bodies, these four bodies, should access to central bank accounts, because if not, they couldn't become direct participants and should have a sponsor bank to make transactions. The fourth, and apparently is a very challenging one, is the limits. If we are putting limits, or normally faster payment systems have limits to limit fraud, yes, but this is preventing some use cases to happen on the faster payment system, especially B2B payments. We don't want to have a separate system for high value payments, another for low value. The faster payment system should cater all use cases, including high value payments. Reciprocity is the fifth one. The system should be allowed not only to receive payments, but also to send payments, and of course at a reasonable cost. The sixth recommendation is that the local payment systems, local faster payment systems, should include procedures for recalls, returns, investigation, dispute process, fraud management, sanction screening, allocation of liabilities. All that happens with a non-happy path in the case of instant payments. The seventh recommendation is that faster payment systems should address and resolve the e-commerce payments. E-commerce is on the rise, and cross-border payments initiated by e-commerce should require adopting international good practices to protect both buyers and merchants, and also consumers, like guarantee schemes, chargebacks, dispute resolutions. So that is what the car processors has successfully made in the recent years. The eighth recommendation is to foster the interoperability of local value-added services. It is critical in many countries, the use of local value-added services like Swiss in Sweden, Visum in Spain, Twint in Switzerland. The use of IBAN to make an instant credit transfer is difficult, so you can use a proxy, and that would help to make these transactions happen. Ninth is the use of a worldwide mobile number as the proxies, that is, or a use of LEIs for corporates, or even LEIs for persons, that would help to make these transactions happen. And finally, is the flip side of instant credit transfers, is the fraud that is also happening instantly, and we have normally good features and good tools to prevent fraud at local level. These tools should open up to cater also cross-border payments. Together with this first deliverable, we have another two that will be explained by my co-leader, Katia Lea.
Thank you, Jose Luis. And in case you were wondering, that was Jose Luis from eBayPay. My name is Katia Lea, JP Morgan. I'm representing UK Finance, i.e. the UK banks, on Task Team 2. And I would like to talk to you real quickly about the two other deliveries of our task force. Now, as Jose Luis mentioned, Task Team 2 has a third deliverable, which is a pretty ambitious one, and that's looking into fraud as it relates to cross-border faster payments transactions. Again, here, similar to what Jose Luis was talking about, we will be issuing a report which looks into understanding the current state of fraud in faster payment systems. then we will be benchmarking it against best practices. So we do recognize that most probably there's, as Jose Luis already mentioned, there's good things already happening in how to mitigate and prevent fraud in local faster payment systems. So what do we have to do when we go global? We are working on recommendations to the industry. And next to the recommendations to the industry, we will differentiate between the recommendation to the public sector and recommendation to the private sector. We get support to release this report from E&Y. So we are aiming to hopefully have something out to you for all to look at towards the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you to the two of you. And we can then move to the next task team, which is on access and operating hours. Please.
Everyone. Oh, there. Thank you so much for the presentation. So it's great to be here today to briefly present the work that we've been doing as part of the PI task force. I'm representing Mercado Pago, and jointly with CLS, we are co-leads of Task Team 1 within the task force. Our team has 3 different focus areas. The first one is expanding direct access to central payment systems for non-bank entities. The second one is expanding PPP access for more currencies. And the third one is expanding operating hours of real-time gross settlement systems. I'll summarize what we've been doing in the area of expanding access to central payment systems for non-bank entities. So we have a variety of participants in our group who play very different roles in payment schemes. There are payment system operators, there are fintechs, PSPs, and associations. So as a group, what we're trying to do is integrate the different viewpoints of these participants. And our objective is to contribute knowledge and experience of members, specifically in jurisdictions where payment system access has already been expanded to non-bank entities or where this expansion is already underway. We call these jurisdictions lighthouses or success stories. And the idea is to identify at least one in each geographical area. And then based on these case studies, the idea is to identify the obstacles that were faced and the different solutions that were implemented. And then to prepare a report which can serve, hopefully, as a guideline for regulators and payment system operators in jurisdictions where access is still restricted and who are looking to expand access for non-bank entities. Our final goal is for the report to show a set of main considerations for expansion of payment system access. So far, we have a very high-level preliminary list of considerations, about 10 of them. But we're still reviewing these and we are discussing them with the group. I won't go into the detail of each one because we don't have a whole lot of time. But mainly, I think we have 2 main groups of considerations. Some are related to regulation and supervision, which are usually an important prerequisite for expanding access for non-banks. And others are more technical and related to infrastructure security and resilience. And once the report is ready, hopefully around the beginning of 2025, we hope it'll be useful for payment system operators and also for regulators in jurisdictions where direct access is still restricted, so that they can begin the path towards expanded access. I'm going to give the floor now to Carrie from CLS, who will present on the other 2 areas of our group.
Thanks, Juliana. My name is Carrie, and I'm at CLS. And together with Dirk Bowman, also on this call, we represent the currency access and operating hour subgroups of this task team. So with respect to currency access, earlier this year, we sent a survey or a questionnaire to all of our task team members. And some of the feedback that we received was related to the proportion of FX trades that are settled not on a PPP basis that could introduce settlement risk into the market. We found that this tended to go towards the emerging market currencies. And to really address this, there needs to be a holistic approach, not necessarily just looking at PVP mechanisms to address settlement risk, but other methods of settlement as well to reduce risk. Now, there have been some concrete actions that have been taken by the industry, particularly over the past year. For example, the BIS is looking to use a new reporting template for its next triennial survey. And also there's in progress revisions to the FX Global Code, which will also address and strengthen the settlement risk principles. But beyond that, what we found from our members in this task team was that there could be more done to increase transparency in this area. Now, we recognize that CPMI put out a report in 2023, which really had some characteristics of PVP providers and put a great analysis of the existing settlement risk in the ecosystem. So this task team is going to supplement that work by distributing an amended questionnaire to learn more about the characteristics of PVP providers. We're going to expand it a little bit beyond some of the participants and industry associations that were included in the last report, and get a comprehensive view of the current state of settlement risk mitigation. Right now, we have a draft template, and we're hoping to distribute that this year with results tabulated and analyzed in the first half of 2025. I'll pause now and move on to operating hours. Okay. So the second area that we've worked on in this task team is looking at RTGS operating hours and expanding them. What I really want to say at the outset is that the participants in our particular subgroup represented quite a diverse range of institutions, both from a geographical perspective and also from a functional institutional perspective. We had members from the wholesale and resale side. So while there seems to be a general agreement that, of course, expanding RTGS operating hours is a public good, there was different perspectives that we identified from the wholesale and retail side. With the wholesale respondents, typically having the response that expanding hours on current business days was preferable, and the retail side tending to favor more the 24/7 approach. Now, I will give the caveat that we did have one outlier in the group that wanted to expand on the weekend. So it's not unanimous, but those are the general sentiments. We also had discussions about expanding the global settlement window, which is the concept that was first proposed by the CPMI in its report on extending and aligning RTGS operating hours. And although it's generally agreed that having an extended settlement window would be a public value and it could increase opportunities for PVP, there seems to be other priorities in the jurisdictions right now. Now, one of the big takeaways from all of the work that we did was that while expanding operating hours was a benefit, we think this work should probably be led by the public sector, not the private sector. This group could stand ready to provide feedback and input, for example, in response to some of the work that's been going on in COPS. And we've been in discussions with the COPS group as well on how to coordinate and align our work streams. And also through the individual consultation processes given out by each jurisdiction. So you could give tailored feedback to the particular jurisdiction circumstances. So with that in mind, we stand ready to help the COPS. And that concludes our operating hours report. I should note that we have a draft report with all of these conclusions set out, and I don't have the exact date, but that should be published in the short term. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And we can move to the last task team on ISO 20022 implementation.
Thank you. So my name is Paula Rules. I'm representing Task Team 3 and I have the pleasure to update you on the status of our current work, ongoing work, right? So the focus here is on fostering ISO 20022 harmonization. On the next slide, thank you. The work we are undertaking is based on the report published by CPMI Joint Task Team. CPMI joining the forces together with the PMPG to identify the ISO 20022 data harmonization requirements, which would actually ensure frictionless processing of cross-border payments across various jurisdictions. The team identifies, the joint task force identified 12 requirements which forms the basis of the work of the task team number 3. So if we move to the next slide, those requirements are applicable for the interbank clearing area in a payment chain. So basically focusing on the protocols exchange amongst the different actors in the payment chain on the interbank space. Nonetheless, we identified as a task team that actually some of the data requirements must be provided by the originator of the payment, so the debtor, so entering into the payments initiation space, and very often the data elements are absolutely, key for the reconciliation of a payment and the successful, credit to the creditor's account on the outside of the clearing space. So basically, the reporting. For that reason, the team looked into the payment initiation as well as actually in the area of the interbank clearing and settlement. If we move to the next slide, this basically illustrates the approach. The task team consists of 25 members, a mixture between CPMI PI members, payment market infrastructure operators, as well as practitioners. In addition, we reached out to 11 additional subject matter experts from the industry to basically get access to a wide, range of market infrastructures and countries' information in order to conduct that report, as well as actually we also have 2 subject matter expert observers, which are part of the CPMI joint task force to help us, ensure that we deliver the quality. We divided our work into 3 phases. Phase 1 was basically completed in February this year, where we agreed on the approach, of engagement, as well as actually on the scope of our work. We identified that it would make sense to prioritize the 200 countries, basically give priorities to the top 100 markets based on volume of inbound cross-border payments into those markets. We also divided the team into regions to make sure that actually we work in parallel streams and analyze those markets as, as many of them as we potentially can, right? For that, we developed also a template which we used as a basis, and then during the phase 2, which started in February this year, is coming to an end right now. We analyzed in total 72 different markets, so countries, which included 47 market infrastructures, so high-value payment market infrastructures, but also covered one of the ACHs, which does facilitate cross-border payments, as well as 3 faster payment systems, which actually are designed to facilitate cross-border payments as well. Right now, we are in the process of finalizing our outcome, formulating it and finalizing it into a report, which is due to be published by end of this year, which I'll come to in a minute. And then actually we will enter into the phase 3, which is the engagement period. So the work we conducted is in fact taking stock of challenges and current market practices, which might actually require updates to allow the market infrastructure or the markets to comply with the identified ISO 20022 data harmonization requirements, facilitating faster, cheaper, and more transparent payments. If we move to the next section, the next slide. So the report, which is due to be published, is constructed in the following way. So we have 4 different sections with a short introduction explaining why we are doing that, and then following by the methodology. So under the section 2, we explain the methodology that group applied in order to conduct this analysis. It also actually explains the scope dimension, which is, the regional dimension, which is the data requirements, the 12 requirements, which actually includes the business areas referring to correspondent banking, payment market infrastructure by the nature of the payment market infrastructure, being high-value payment, ACHs, or faster payments, and then actually to granular level of the message type. In the 3rd section, this is, actually where we publish the result of our country-specific analyses. We start with introducing the global view, so basically the templates or the global interaction or execution of payments, which would include, for example, correspondent banking, but also the high-value payment systems plus template, which is used by many market infrastructure as the basis for the definition of their own ISO 20 or 22 messages. And then actually we would dive into the regional view and finish with the conclusion in section 4, which actually will provide the summary of the observations conducted throughout this analysis. And on this slide, on the right side, you basically have a little indication how the summary might actually also look like in an illustration. If we move to the next slide, just to allow you, because I'm sure you are already looking forward to read the report, to allow you a little bit, the structure we used to explain that a little. So basically we are following a strict structure, repeated structure to basically enable an easy understanding of the presentation. We start with the introduction of a particular market or market infrastructure, providing on information on the current payment landscape as well as ISO 20 or 22 journey. So many of the market infrastructures we analyzed are already using ISO 20 or 22. Some are not, but have plans. So you will learn about the planning in this section. And then we attached a little overview of the compliance status, based on the particular usage guidance with the CPMI requirements. So this reflects the 12 requirements. And we applied a color coding. The color green basically already reflects that this requirement is met by the current market practice or the usage guidance or the payment market standard used in the payment market infrastructure. And then amber very often reflects, in fact, the status of the message used in the current market infrastructure, which comes with some restrictions. Taking here a sample of the requirement number 2, which mandates the use or requires the use of externalized code set lists, the CVPR Plus as well as HVPS Plus. Base message used right now in the live environment is based on the version 2019, which actually had some embedded codes in the PAC 008. This is just as a sample. What we introduced as well is the name and number of observed market practices. So in this example, you will see market practice 2, support of embedded codes, which identifies, in fact, the identified market practice which does not allow compliance. This is something which we introduced to better, evaluate the commonalities across the market infrastructures and regions analyzed. And then you have basically this little table, which actually always starts with a region, with a country, with the owner of the usage guidance and the area, and then focuses particular on the requirement identified, which is not complying yet with the CPMI requirements. We are only focusing on those which are not meeting the requirements to make the report meaningful to the reader. And of course, we included the messages. Following that table, you will see a short description of the identified, non-compliance, right? And then also the team, identifies the proposed solution to aid that issue and the proposed actions which are following in the phase 3. If we move to the last slide, this is basically to summarize the key takeaways from the work right now ongoing in the task team 3. So in fact, we are basing our work on the agreed G20 priorities back in 2022. We are part of the CPMI, identifying existing challenges and market practices that require updates to align with the CPMI requirements. And we develop proposals to address those. The consolidated report right now is due to be, finalized and published soon. My biggest ask to the readers is always, thoroughly review the areas which is applicable to your particular market. Please challenge us, provide us with feedback if there's something which you believe needs to be corrected. And also a big invite to those market infrastructure which we did not manage to cover in our task team, very often due to restriction of the resources and the availability of the data. There is a huge value for the community for you to be included in this report. Reach out to us. We will be happy to work with you and include the status of your market infrastructure in the report as well. With that, actually, I'm concluding the result of the task team 3.
So, yeah, thank you very much to my colleagues from the PI task force. And as you just have heard, you are also welcome to provide even input to the work. It's ongoing work. And as mentioned, there will be reports covering those 3 task teams, which will be published, I would say, over the next 6 months. So if you are patient, you can wait, you can provide input before, and you can also look for more information on the BIS CPMI website on the work of the PI task force, where we have been publishing also the outcomes of the different meetings. So thank you very much, and this will not be the last webinar, so watch on this website what you will find in the future. Bye-bye.